Hi, I'm Lloyd Rieber, and I'm here again to demonstrate how to build a simple LiveCode project that involves some computer programming. The goal of this demonstration is to introduce people who have never programmed before to coding with LiveCode. By following this video, you should be able to build this project yourself, but I suggest you watch the video at least once all the way through before launching LiveCode and trying it for yourself. Let's start with a short demonstration of the final project. Well, it's time to walk the dog, and we have a very cute puppy here who has been waiting very patiently for his evening walk. So let me go into run mode, and when I click on the dog, he changes to go for a walk, and by golly, I can move him around the screen. And when I let go of the mouse, he is such a good dog. He immediately sits at heel. So let's go for another walk. I'll click and hold, and there we go, and I let go of the mouse. He sits. Now if I just click on him and hold, he stands. So without moving, he also is going to change his position. So this is kind of interesting, isn't it? I have one object that is changing from one image to the other, and I'm able to move the object around the screen wherever I want. It's following my mouse. And let me show you another example. Here we have a nice fellow. Perhaps you might call this a cartoon caricature of me, perhaps. I wish I looked that good. And same idea, if I click and hold on this fellow, he is happy that I paid attention to him. If I let go, he's okay, but he's not as happy. And the same thing, if I click and hold, I can move him around the screen as well. So yeah, what's going on here? How do we do this? Well, let's take a look at the next slide, the next card, I should say. Yeah, so you see here that I have individual images of the dog. In fact, I have a third one here that I've been playing with, and two here that you can see of that cartoon fellow. So obviously I am somehow manipulating these images in such a way when I click the mouse button, the image changes. Well, this is called skinning an object, and it means to apply another skin to the object. And what's really cool about LiveCode is I can change what image or what skin is being shown at any one time using some code. So let's go back to the original slide, and let's take a look at the code for this little puppy. So I'm going to go ahead and click on him and click on the code button to see what the code is. And let me get rid of that extra space there. I'll save that. So you can see here that we actually have two handlers or two triggers. For example, we have a trigger that says do something if you hold the mouse down on this object. And it says, first of all, grab me. And that's the one line of code that actually says, okay, when the mouse is down, it will grab hold of this object. So me refers to the object dog. This is an interesting thing in LiveCode. The command or the word me, it refers to whatever the object is that is calling that particular code. So that's great. It allows me to move the dog around, but it also says set the icon of me, so again it's the dog button, to a number 1007. So we'll take a look again in just a second at where that number, why I chose that number. And you can see here, mouse up, on mouse up, set the icon of me, well, to a different number. So the icon is the graphical representation of what the object is, and apparently I can switch it between these two numbers. So what is that number referring to? Well, let me go to the card that had all of the images. So let me go to the first puppy sitting, and you'll notice over here in the property inspector, a reminder that if you don't have the property inspector, you just click on the object and click the inspector button. And here we have the sitting dog GIF, and aha, the ID is 1006. Now I did not give it that number. When you bring in an image into LiveCode, it will automatically assign an ID number to that image. This image, the dog standing, is image number 1007. So you can see that I'm using those numbers that LiveCode provided. I had to write them down to make sure that I did not forget what they were and knew which code referred to which graphic of the puppy. Same thing for this young man here. So here he is in the neutral state, 1009, and 1008 is the happy state. And apparently I brought in or imported the graphic of him smiling before I brought in the graphic of him just in the neutral state, because 1009 comes after 1008. Again, you don't have to worry about where the number comes from. LiveCode will automatically assign it to the graphic or the control. So if I go back now to this fellow, and again go and click on him and choose to click on the code for him, you will see there are those numbers, 1008, which is when he is happy, and when I let the mouse goes up, 1009. So again, it's a simple thing, but keep in mind, on mouse down versus on mouse up, two very different triggers. Mouse down is when the mouse button is pressed and is held down, and mouse up is when you let go of the mouse. Okay? So again, if I go to this man and go back into run mode, if I just click once and let go, you'll see that he's like a fast on the draw there. Okay? So let's start a new card, and we will do this from scratch. Okay, I'm going to start by creating a new card, and I'm on whatever card you're looking at. Just remember that when you make a new card, it always puts it after the card you are looking at. So I will make a new card, and I'll go into edit mode, and I'll just double click on that empty card there, and I'll give the card a name, Walk the Dog 2. Alright, so what I want to do is bring in the graphic of the dog as a separate image item, and I'm going to use that as a skin for a button. So I'll just put or import the image of the dog to this particular card so we actually see it at all times. But as you noticed, I put that image of the dog on a separate card that I call just simply library. So it's kind of out of the way, off to the side. Nobody needs to know that it's there. But let's go ahead and bring in the graphic of the dog. We'll put it on this card as a start. Alright, so let's go get the image of the dog. I'll go up to File and choose to import as Control an image file. This is the way you import images into LiveCode. And as you can see, I am in a folder that I'm going to access here, navigate to in order to find my graphics. So let me choose the sitting dog. Alright, I'm just going to put the sitting dog up here off to the side. Let's do the same thing now and bring in the other image of the dog. Oh, before we do that, notice that the dog is chosen or highlighted or selected, and look, there's a ID selected for the dog by LiveCode, 1025. So that's the number we will use in just a few minutes. Let's bring in the other image of the dog. So File, Import as Control, Image File, and I want standing dog.gif. Alright, I'll put him over there. And again, you can see the number is simply the next number in sequence, 1026. So I'm going to now create a button that will be skinned in just a second with those images. So let me bring in the button. And as you can see, it doesn't look like a dog. I'll make it roughly the size of the dog, and we'll see there's some great shortcuts here for getting the size just right. So there we go, we have the button. But what I want to do is get the button immediately to look like the dog. So that's actually pretty easy to do. I want the dog, sitting dog, to be that particular image. So 1025, right? Let's remember that, 1025. If I go to the button and go to icons and border, you can see the icon shows 0, but if I put in 1025, hit the tab, now that button begins to look like a dog. Now it has some peculiarities. It has this name button, the size doesn't seem to be exactly right, and there's a grayness to it. Well, watch what I can do here. I'm going to go back to basic properties and do a few things. First of all, I don't want it to be opaque. I'll turn that off. That's nice. I also don't want to show the name. That's a little better. And there seems to be this border here. How can I get rid of that? Well, there's nothing here saying border, but if I start to look around, I see, icons and border. So I will click on that or make that choice, and I see, yes, border. And while I'm at it, I'm going to turn off the 3D and highlight border. I don't think they'll matter, but I always like to turn off all three. Okay, so great. We have the dog. Now, it's still not exactly the right size, and I could try my best to line up just so, and I probably would do a pretty good job. But there's a great shortcut for making it exactly the right size, and that is to go to Size and Position, and you'll see here width and height, fit content. Let's do this. For the width, yes, and the height, yes. See how it trimmed that up and actually brought the size of the button to be exactly the size of that dog. Now I'm already anticipating a little issue here. Maybe you see it as well. The two images of the dog are not exactly the same width. In fact, as I click on one, you can see here in the size and position, this one has a width of 118, a height of 144. This one, although it has a height of 144, has a width of 202. These are pixels. So what I really should have done is chosen this dog as the image that I'm going to do the sizing. But that's not hard to do. So let's just go to, again, the basic properties of this dog, 1026. So I'm going to go back now to this button, and again, this is a button, this is a image. You can see up here in the property inspector it says image for both of these. This is a button. It just happens to look like a dog. So I'm going to go to this image, to this button, and I'm going to go back to icons and borders, and I will change the icon to 1026, and I'll again use that same trick before of going to size and position and doing the fit content. Now, when the card is first shown, when the card is opened, I don't want that image of the dog. I want this image of the dog. But now the size is going to be where it needs to be. I can go back to icons and border and just say show this one as the default image. But you can see it's larger than that image, but that's okay because it actually matches this other dog. Now, obviously, another strategy would be to always choose images that you're going to be alternating between that are exactly the same height and width. Okay, so now we want to switch back and forth when I click and hold and when I let go. And I also want to be able to move the dog around. So let's take a look at the code and how that code works again. Well, let's start by entering the code window, the scripting window for this particular object here, this button. So I'm going to click on the code for that button, and again, LiveCode just automatically says, well, you probably won't have it's a button, so you're probably going to have an on mouse up, followed by, of course, the end mouse up with whatever you want me to do when you click the button and let go. I will do that. Well, I'm going to go to the script of that man that we had a little bit ago, and actually the code is almost identical. All I really will need to do is change the number of the icons. So I'm going to copy that code, go back to my button here, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all of the code that was there and put in the code that I had from the man. And by the way, I should give this button a name other than button, just so I know. Again, I'll call this one puppy. Hit the tab to accept that. So when the mouse is down, as I recall, we want to have the icon be 1026, but when it is let go, I want it to go back to its original of 1025. So let's apply that. We've got a green light. That means the code is valid. All right, let's go to this back here to the card itself and click the run, and I will just click, and there we go. Now, if you go back to the code, you will see that we have this grab me, and that is all we need in order to have the button be under the control of the mouse button to move it. So because that script was in there, we can see that it works. It actually grabs hold when I click on it. So again, that only happens when the mouse is down, when the button is pressed down, and it grabs hold of the icon and sets the icon to the puppy that is standing up. And then that code is not enforced when the mouse is not in the down position. So we need another trigger on this particular object to say, well, what should I do when the mouse button is up? And that's where we just have the icon being set to that other number. Now, if I were to comment out, I don't want to delete it because I'm going to put it back in just a second. If I put the two forward slashes, that turns a line of code into a comment, and therefore it will not be executed. Let's apply that. Now, when I run this particular code, you can see that no matter where the mouse goes, the dog does not follow, but the dog is in that position until I let go of the mouse. So I will put that back to the grab me, so I do have a chance to be able to move that dog around the screen. Check it out one more time. Yeah. Excellent. Now I am betting that you are saying to yourself, well, that's all well and good, Lloyd, to have the dog be turned to the right when I'm moving it, but when I'm moving the dog to the left, shouldn't the dog be turned to the left too? Unless this is a very talented dog who knows how to walk backwards. Well, as it turns out, I have another card here with a very similar looking puppy, and watch what happens when I click and hold and start walking the dog. Well, we're going to the right, but I'm going to now switch around and go to the left. Whoa. And if I stop, even if the mouse is being held down, the little puppy will go into the sit position because, after all, we're not moving. To the left and to the right. But wait, there's more. Remember that young fellow we saw a little bit ago? Let's take a look at another variation of what we can do with him. I'm going to quickly jump to another card where I have another project started. Yeah, so here we have that young fellow, and now I have two locations that I would like to take him to, either the bank or the grocery store. So you can imagine that I could find some images for a bank and a grocery store, and I could skin these two buttons that you see there, just like I did the dog and this cartoon man. But let's see what happens now when I take him to the bank. I'm going to click and drag him over, click and hold. When I get to the bank and let go, he says, "Thanks for taking me to the bank. Here's $5 for your trouble." Let's take him elsewhere. Now if I put him someplace else, nothing happens. Take him to the grocery store. He says, "Thanks for taking me to the grocery store. Here's a tomato for your trouble." So this idea of being able to click, hold, and drag an object around, especially when I have some control over the image itself, really gives me a world of possibilities for interactive software design. Well, I'm going to stop the video at this point, but with the promise that I will have two more. One to show that interesting animation effect, walking the dog left and right, and another one to show how you can make this interactive software with this example of this man going to the bank and the grocery store. Well, that's all there is to it, and now it is your turn. Download your free version of LiveCode, Community Edition and try building this little project for yourself. Look for other first project examples and tutorials on my website. Happy coding!